How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we are ranking the best hand traps for the Darkwing Blast format, so including the Bystial hand traps as well. Before we begin, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you are new here. 95% of you watching this are not subscribed, so hit that sub button and enjoy the rest of the video. So we have the tier list here. I've sort of put it as like must play, high impact, situational, low impact, and ineffective. So must play would be something that you should always run. Situational is like, sometimes, and ineffective is something that I wouldn't play at all today. And I've included most of the hand traps. I didn't include stuff like Phantasme and stuff like that, which are obviously not played at all and don't really have, I think, any space in the meta. But we're going to start with the first one, and that is going to be evenly matched. I think evenly matched is one of the best side cards in this format. I think for mainly the reason that you don't see a lot of actual like spell trap negates in most top meta decks, and I think evenly matched can really hit a board really hard. Like if you side it in and you know that you have a good chance of resolving it, obviously like you won't go against like a Dragon Link board, or you won't go with evenly matched without anything else, without droplets or dark rulers. But if this card hits, it hits really hard, and especially against tier limits, banishes everything face down. It's much better than things like Lightning Storm as a board wipe. So I think evenly right now, even though it's like, it's not really a hand trap classically, but it is a hand trap for going second. So I would definitely say this is high impact. The next one is Dimension Shifter. I think this one is, I'm just putting all the things that I'm talking about in situational just because it's the middle one. But if you consider Dimension Shifter as something that not a lot of decks can run, but you still consider how impactful it is. So think about the decks that can run it. So things like Floowandereeze, Exo Sisters. I think Kashtira in the future will be able to run it as well, and it is becoming a more popular side card for things like Sprite, that even though it hurts them, it hurts the matches that they put it up against much harder than it hits them. So I think it is still, considering the meta with Bystial Dragon Links and tier limits, obviously some sprites as well in the upcoming Darkwing Blast format, I think this is still going to be a high impact one. It's like a lingering floodgate. It's really hard to play against. If your deck can't handle it, then it's very high impact. So I think this belongs up there. We got Ash Blossom here. I think Ash, even though she got like a really nice reprint recently with the secret and of course the common, I think Ash is actually situational in this format. So again, thinking about the best decks that would be, I think against branded and branded Bystials could be a thing. But if you're thinking about tier limits, Sprite, and Dragon Link Bystials, I think this card is situational. I mean, it's good in some matches, but in a lot of matchups, you would want to have other hand traps, like the Bystial stuff, maybe DD Crows, even Impermanence. So I think Ash in this format, and let me know what you think about this in the comments, but I think Ash in this format is definitely situational. The next one is Ghost Ogre, and definitely falling off from the sort of like Prank Kids adventure format. And right now, honestly, it's ineffective. I mean, I wouldn't play this in any of my decks. It doesn't really hit anything. It could hit like the tier limits field spell, but that's like the least of your worries at that point, right? So I think now it's very ineffective, and I would definitely not play this in the current or upcoming format. There's really nothing to gain from playing this card. I don't think there's any threat similar to what we had with like Adventure. This was really good against Adventure. It was good for like a minute against Sprites, because you can hit the gigantic, but overall I wouldn't play this in this current format. The next one is another Ghost Girl, and it's Ghost Belle. I think Ghost Belle is currently situational, but I think in the upcoming format it might be even high impact. And the reason is that I think graveyard removal, and that's why we're going to have like Crow, Bell, and Bystial stuff way up there, because it counters the best decks, and graveyard interactions are really, really important. And Bell could be an offensive card and a defensive card, which Crow and Bystial stuff can't do. So it could prevent you from getting Bystialed, right? It could prevent you from being called by or DD-Crowed. So and also it could prevent all the fusions for the tier limit stuff, and it can also prevent the Bystial Monsters from being summoned, obviously. So I think Bell in the upcoming format might be like very, very high impact. It's still obviously good against things like Mathmech, you know, which is still one of the top decks. It's really good against Branded, and I think super solid high impact, I think. DD Crows, honestly, might be a must play. This card is too good to pass on. It's not once per turn. You don't really brick on it. It's very, very free, and it does very little, but it does it really well. So I think Crow is a must play. It has been in this format. I think it will still be in the next format as well. Then we have Veiler. I think with the tier limits still being a thing, you have Dragon Links, you have Branded, you also have Flunderies. Don't forget, this deck is still like kicking. And Veiler is just a super solid take. It's also a light. I don't know if it actually matters that it's a light. I mean, Dragon Links can actually run it pretty well. But again, that's spot removal or like spot negation with Veiler and Imperm. I think I'm going to talk about these like together. They're really good against the tier limits matchup, and hitting the Kalos is very, very impactful most of the times. Now that you don't have Snow, it's much harder to continue comboing off if the Kalos got hit, and sometimes you put a lot of efforts into bringing it on the board to begin with, and then, you know, it's just stuck there, basically. It's really good against a lot of matchups. It's just like a really, really solid and very free non-once per turn, both of them hand traps. Veiler is a bit weaker because it's on your opponent's turn. And Imperm, to be honest, might be a must play while Veiler is in high impact. The fact that you can use Imperm on your turn as a negate for this specific turn, for the thing that actually like prevents you from playing specifically, I think it's really good. So I think Imperm might be a must play if you are playing a deck that can run hand traps, of course, and Veiler is high impact. But wait, 95% of you are not subscribed, so please take a minute, hit that subscribe button, and enjoy the rest of the video. So let me know if I'm wrong on this, but Gamma might be a little bit low impact in this format, right? You definitely don't want to destroy things as much as you used to before the Ronin Totem ban. I think before the Ronin Totem ban, this was a really good side deck card for Sprite. And now I feel like it will be harder to resolve. I'm not really seeing it in lists, and it doesn't really hit anything impactful. I mean, you wouldn't want to play this card against tier limits ever, which is going to be the best deck. Sprites, it's still pretty solid, but usually it doesn't do enough because the lines that Sprite play today aren't the same as they used to. And against things like Mathmech and stuff, it could be good, but usually you would have a monster when they start resolving like things. Same for Flunderies. It doesn't do enough. I mean, destroying and banishing it just give them another chain block. So I think for now it's definitely low impact. Mourner, I think it's going to be either situational or high impact. I think this card is obviously good in time. It's a negate. And but I also think like it might be like in addition to playing Imperm and Veiler. I don't think this card would be like, oh, I'd rather play this card over Imperm and Veiler. This obviously doesn't lose the dimensional barrier as much as Veiler does. And the attribute is also good to not get like you know, put lights and darks in your graveyard, which we don't want to do anymore. But let me know in the comment what do you think about Ghost Mourner. I haven't played with it, barely, like I barely played with it, and I don't have a solid opinion, I think, on it. I've seen it being played, and yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think about it. Cherries, I think it's somewhere between here, because if you are going to a really, really high caliber event like a YCS, this card might be much better. Like, you're going to see a lot of Sprite, you're going to see a lot of Tier, you're going to see a lot of Dragonlings. They all play Elf, all of them. And if you have Kit Kalos, then yeah, you can put it as a side deck option, like 3 of these in Kit. You hit the tier limit matchup pretty hard when you do that, when you cherries the Kit Kalos. So I think I am going to put it in situational, because I wouldn't bring this card to locals, to be honest. You don't really know what you're going to see. It takes up space in your side deck and extra deck if you're not playing like the best strategy that is very generic. So I would put it in situational at the moment. Dogwood as well. I mean, Dogwood, I wouldn't side this card or play this card if I'm not going to a high caliber tournament. Like in locals, I don't know if I would play this. So for the more casual audience, I think this is more situational, obviously. But if you are going to like a big tournament and you are concerned about losing in time, yeah, this is obviously a great card. This is very high impact. They activate anything, you just chain this, and they pretty much have to scoop or they lose. Then we get to the Bystial stuff. We have Druid Swarm and we have Magnamut, which are going to be the ones we see more of. You're going to probably see 2 or 3 Magnamuts and 1 or 2 Druid Swarm. Magnamut, what it does is that as a quick effect, if your opponent controls a monster, you can banish 1 light or dark from their graveyard. You target it first, then you banish it and special summon this card. Yeah, Druid Swarm does the exact same thing. When Magnamut is summoned, you can activate the effect where in the end phase you search for any dragon from your deck. Druid Swarm, when it's sent to the graveyard, you can send the face-up card your opponent controls to the field, I think. So I'm putting them as must-play in the next format. So they are also like natural counters to each other, right? But I think Bystial branded, tier limits, Mathmex, which run lights in their graveyard, it hits everything. And especially, of course, tier limits. Like, it's the obvious, like, okay, Konami didn't hit tier limits hard enough in the ban list because this is coming out. And I think I was pissed off in the beginning. I was like, why did they hit my boy Ronin so hard and did nothing barely to like tier? But this is why. This is why. These are like the best natural counters. And I'm really looking forward to playing Bystial branded, but Bystials are also counters to Bystial branded. So they are that impactful. They are just that strong in the metagame. And I think they will be a must play. Like 2 of these, 1 of this, possibly. So consider that. Thankfully, they are super rares. Konami, I think I have forgiven you since the ban list. I was mad, but yeah. Nibiru, the primal being. Again, we are talking about Mathmex branded, dragons, tier, sprite. I think it's good in 1 matchup out of these. I think it's good against tier. If you are scared of the spell canceller stuff and the graveyard shenanigans, this is good against tier. I wouldn't necessarily play it in a lot of other strategies. It might be floating around here. It might be high impact still. Because it's still a card that playing against combo, you are very comfortable just like having. And in your locals, you will still see things like Tri-Brigade, Drytron, things like that could lose to Nibiru. So I think maybe high impact. Let me know in the comments what do you think about that. Droll. I've seen people kind of coming back to Droll. I think if you're thinking about things like Mathmex, I mean, it's obviously good against Flinderies, right? Good. We know that. First search, you drop this, they end the turn, basically. However, like, it's pretty good against branded if you hit them right. If they start off with like Patchwork or Aluber, it might hit them, but it won't affect them that much. And the tier matchup, it doesn't really lose to anything except for graveyard removal. So I think low impact is definitely the wave. We have Lancea, which we haven't seen in a while. I think ineffective, just like, do I need to explain? You know, runics are a thing, but you wouldn't play this against runics. Like, everything else is better against runics at this point. It does hurt pure runic as well, but how much side deck space you want to give to pure runics? It does have a natural way of countering Bystials, but it works only on your opponent's turn. So this is why it's going to be really hard to play this card and succeed. Unless you're playing Drytron specifically, where you can search this off of Ben 10, and you've already searched everything else that you need because you have 3 Ben 10s and they're not once per turn. The last one is Meister. I have been seeing this more often, but again, same with Lancea. Would you want to play this card or see this card in your hand over a Crow, any Bystial, or Bell? They work on the same things, like graveyard activated effects mostly interact with the graveyard, and you know, it's not Tri-Brigade format. This card was solid in Tri-Brigade, but now I think this card it's not ineffective. I would say that you can tech this in and you might actually succeed, but think realistically if you want to see this over any of these. And I think the answer is going to be no most of the time. Yeah, boys and girls, this is the list. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Remember that only 5% of people watching this are actually subscribed. So 95% of you watching this, hit that sub button. It's free. It really helps the channel. It helps me get motivated to make more of these. So I really hope you enjoy these. Check out Twitter, as always. We got huge giveaways this week. Every day we're giving away a secret rare from the tins. So make sure you follow over there as well. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace.